Jennifer, why am I single and why is it all my fault?
So this always depends if I'm talking to a man or a woman.
I'm pretty sure I'm a man. I
Yeah,
checked my
okay.
passport
Right.
today, so.
So for most of the men that I talk to, they have a very specific type on physically what they're attracted to. Starting with body type, most of the men that I work with, they want to date a petite and or athletic woman. Is that the case with you?
You know, I'm kind of like a different case. Yes, I think I would prefer somebody who is taking care of themselves. But for me, it was always about personality more than looks. And I know I'm a little bit of a nut duck when it comes to that because
Yeah.
I'm not gonna sit here and say, yeah, I'm not attracted or I'm not affected by a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
That's definitely not true. But I think at the end of the day, it's more important how we interact and how she treats me. I think that's priority one. But yeah, to answer your question, yeah, it would be a
Yeah.
preference, but it wouldn't be a deal breaker necessarily.
Yeah, I think that, online dating has made everybody believe there's this perfect person for them out there and they just haven't found them. And that's just really not the case. There's
Mm,
not this perfect person. And even if there is a perfect person that you would deem perfect for you, she's maybe not looking for you. Like that's
right.
what makes it more complicated, right? And so for instance, so like a lot of the men that hire me, they have preferences on body type. Most successful men that I know, they want to date a woman who is like way more fit than average, way more fit than average, and to a petite and athletic look. And then beyond that, they even have a type in terms of height. Like, I have guys that won't date short girls, guys that will only date short girls. And so they've really narrowed it down to this sort of widget. I have a client that I work with. I mean, great guy, but he has two kids. He lives far in the suburbs and he wants to date, and he's a little bit shorter. He wants to date a beautiful woman who doesn't want kids in her 30s. Well, I mean, I don't know that that girl's out there looking for a guy in the suburbs with two kids. Do you see what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
he's dated that girl before. Maybe he was even married to that girl before, and that situation has changed. So I think a lot of people have other clients that will only date. They won't date a girl if she's everything they're looking for and she's too short. They won't date her. If she is too tall, they won't date her. And so it's just online dating has allowed them to believe that they can sort of just find this perfect girl, and they've even seen her out there, and they want that girl that didn't respond to them online to respond to them, through me. And they're never happy because everything's got to be perfect. And I think that people used to give people more grace than that, and that's really what changed, is that people feel like there is this great love of their life that they're just missing, and they can see what she looks like and see how she act, and they feel like they will know right away. And I think that that's what's made it so hard. And you've got to open up your mind to, it might not look like what you envisioned. It might be an average body type and not a petite body type. It might be a girl who is 42 when you were thinking 30s, so it might be a different ethnicity than what you were thinking. They might not live in the perfect location. So I think that's why I wrote this book. I feel like it's more targeted at women than men, but I think that that's the one thing men do. They have a physical type, and they really like only open their eyes to that type. You know what I mean? And I feel like they probably could be attracted to other people that don't. They could find something else about her sexy if it's not, exactly what they were envisioning.
I remember being in college a long time ago and having a conversation with a group of guys, and they were complaining about how women only want the guys who are tall, they only want the guys with the money, and blah blah blah.
Right.
And I turned around at them and said, "Yeah, but you guys only want tits and ass."
Yeah.
So it's like it's the other side of the selfish scale, right? Like if you're
Right.
just looking what's good for me, right?
Right.
If it's just like, oh, how can I benefit from this relationship? And they only looking for that physical type that's gonna make them look good to their friends. Because I think a lot of guys unfortunately also fall in that bandwagon is like they want a woman that's going to look good in front of Joe, Harry, and Paul,
Hmm.
right? Like, look how this beautiful woman next to me, I'm better because she's around, which I think is also pretty selfish. Um,
But you don't
so
have you don't think it's what they're naturally attracted to anyway, that they're just their brain is so wired to be attracted to that type.
yeah, I mean, I don't think I think it's a lot of things. I think it's it's like a lot of things. It's a little bit of biology, it's a lot of bit of
Yeah.
society also.
Hmm.
It's like their value with other people value, so
Hmm.
then it becomes value to them.
Yeah.
Um, so even back then, we're talking about so college for me it was like 25 years ago. Even back then, that was what we see now, but like I feel like now it's like amped up to 11, where back then it was like not as much of a problem. It was a problem, but it wasn't as much as a problem as it is today.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like, I mean, especially the body for men. I mean, women can look at other women and say, she's got great boobs, she's curvy, she has great skin. Like, does it have to come in this package that is only one way? I mean, I feel like for men, can't they find different types of women pretty? You know what I mean? Not like not every woman's cut out to be petite and athletic. Maybe she's curvy, and maybe that curvy could be awesome. And you could get into that, right? Like, could you see them and not this like perfect way that they have to be attracted to you? You should be able to be attracted to different types. And I'm not saying you don't need to be attracted to her, but I think that you should be able to find people attractive in different ways. I think men could work on that. If you're only attracted to a petite woman, then you're attracted to 15% of the population, and you're definitely competing with the most successful, attractive men out there. So if that is your type, then that's part of the reason you're single. You need to be attracted to like an average body and a beautiful face and great boobs. you know? So I would say
Hey,
that.
listen, you don't have to sell it to me. I think that's fantastic. I think also like you deal. I would imagine that you deal with a certain kind of clientele, and maybe. So I have a friend who hired a matchmaker in the past. He is a super nice guy, but has difficulty with the ladies, and he's very successful.
Yeah.
Financially.
Hmm.
So, but it goes exactly what you were referring to. Is like the expectation seems to be a bit high when it
Hmm.
comes to because I so this is my own theory, right? I think that for men specifically, it's very important that you are sociable and you can go into a group of people, whether you
Right.
want to just like you want nothing from them. You're not trying to pick anybody up, but just go there and interact with people, make friends. Who knows? Maybe a friend that you make is going to introduce you to somebody else.
Yeah.
I think that's the beginning for guys. You know what I mean? To have
Right.
that easiness of going into a group of women with no other intentions other than just to go talk to them. And I tried to help them do that, but that failed horribly. So,
So he's only interested in talking to women he finds attractive.
right. And that's a
Yeah.
problem,
Yeah.
right? I
That's
mean,
like,
that's a problem from,
hmm,
yeah.
yeah, that's some on the spectrum stuff. Is he on the spectrum? Do you think?
I don't think so, but that's a good question. I
Or
mean, I don't know. That's a good
yeah,
question.
I mean, because any woman is going to judge him for his social skills and being able to be kind
Absolutely.
with people. And if he can't master that, then that would distract him from a lot of women. Women can see through that in terms of like, why are you coming at them with an angle? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, why can't you just be genuinely interested in other people? And if that develops chemistry, great, And if it doesn't, then you're just interested in intellectually curious at other people. People make
Yeah,
it too
I think that's.
with sex.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think women are, like you said, very good at observing that.
Right, right.
But it's something that's hard to explain. Is there? But I kind of feel bad for your for your job in a way because like I can only imagine the kind of high expectations people put in the service,
Totally. Yeah.
right? Can you talk
Yeah.
a little bit about that? Because I would imagine that that is something that you deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah, I mean, like this is what's coming up lately is that men want to see current pictures because they are obsessed with making sure the woman is not overweight. They want to make sure she looks like her pictures, looks young. And so I have to have current pictures, and they want me to make sure the pictures are current, but they also want to go out right away, and they want to have several options. So there's just, yeah, I mean, a demand for this perfect person to get them the information they need and to go out right away. That's really hard. I mean, I usually am talking about what the women want, but I think the book addresses a lot of that because I am a woman. I get women, but I think that men are like, they're really critical about the physical appearance. And I'm not saying they shouldn't be attracted to a girl, but they need to like work on what they could work with. I mean, women certainly do that, you know? We
Yeah.
can grow attraction to people because we can see things that are attractive about them that maybe we wouldn't notice right away.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
and
certain had,
I'm wired differently, so that's hard. But you know,
I have been in relationships with women where the beginning was more like a friendship that became a
yeah,
relationship. And in a
yeah,
way, like that's almost the ideal way to do it, you know,
totally. Hmm.
because you start to see the person without that veil of, oh, let me be perfect right now.
Right.
Um, One of my beefs with online dating, and I think I talked about this in a podcast before, is that it's like buying a car. You have to put all the options that you want. That's one problem. And the other
Hmm.
problem is, well, there are many problems, but one of the other ones is the fact that, if it's broken, just swipe way to the next one. There's no, you know what I mean? It's a throwaway kind of a thing. And it's almost like a video game at this point than it is,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. That people are tapping out if they can't find it, and they're getting super frustrated at the opposite sex. But meanwhile, they're not like changing up what they're open to. You know what I mean? Like if you're a man who's frustrated that, petite white girls aren't dating you, why don't you try a different ethnicity? Like what's wrong with you? Like try something different. Try a different height, take out the college degree, look somewhere different. Open up your I have friends that are definitely not this perfect physical type that found it. And I think a lot of people find it, but you just get stuck in your own ways and you get bitter because this person that you're looking for is not necessarily looking for you, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think online dating changed that and that people got a lot more, like women got critical about height. That was not something, 20 years ago, women talked about that, and income has become a huge thing. So, yeah, I just think dating's gotten harder.
Oh, I'm glad to hear you say that because I can remember a time that was a lot easier. I think when we talked to, we're approximately the same age, right?
Yeah.
And I remember going out um, to do whatever and just meet a group of people, and then there'll be somebody else there who's interesting,
Yeah.
and then exchange numbers. You know what I mean? Either it would work or you would. It
What,
would
like, yeah, I just turned 49, you're 48, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I just wasn't we weren't asking people what they did for a living. I mean, we
No.
just I mean, maybe like, do you work in marketing? Where do you live? But it wasn't
No.
like this agenda to like catch this certain lifestyle. And I think that's changed too with online dating. Everybody making it look like they have money, and they're just kind of posers, most of them.
Do you find that a lot that people go into your practice and they're like the guys maybe more so want to show that they have all this money and all this status, and then when you go to find out it's not really that.
No, the guys that I work with do have money. I
Oh,
mean, that's
that's
the one thing
good.
you have. Um,
That's the one thing they have. That's
yeah,
good.
I have some guys that is like I'm not dealing with that as much. Actually, I'm having more of a problem with the women, wanting a guy with money. Lately, it's not about the guys trying to be flashy about their money,
Mm.
but it's about like, an average girl with an average body trying to date a guy who is really good looking and super successful. And that guy is not going to end up with an average girl. He's not. So those girls will just stay, they would rather not settle in their brain than they'd rather just stay single unless they can get everything they're looking for. And I find that really sad. I think it's just like them only being, happy with their high end purse. It's kind of sad that they can only find beauty in the money. You know?
Yeah, and there is I mean, I wonder how you feel about that, but like it seems to be the case where women will have most of their options when they're younger, right? When you're 18, 19, 25,
Yeah.
like you can have any suitor you want basically at that point.
Hmm.
And as time goes on, for many reasons, not just because of the biology of the woman, but also society, right? Because people get married, people do whatever, there's less people around.
Yeah.
Um, do you ever have to have this conversation with people and be like, hey, it's not really settling?
Yeah. Well, that's really touchy. I mean, like obviously I wrote the book called I Know Why You're Single and Yes, It's Your Fault. It's primarily geared to women that are, trying to hit the mother load at 50. Um and but this is the thing that I'm seeing and I'm trying to like wrap my head around. Women would rather be single than settle. They really would. So that is why the birth rates are declining. People are not getting married. Women do not want to be the one who is earning more than their husbands. And they would rather not marry than to be in that situation, which I understand it, but as the breadwinner in my marriage, it's very happy. I find it sad because I feel like you place so much money, so much emphasis on money, and I wonder if you were raised that way. Like, did your parents tell you to only care about money, only to marry a man who made a lot of money? I mean, they probably wanted you to marry a good person who would support you and be your best friend and lift you up and be good to you. And there's just so much more to be had in a marriage than just finances. And I feel like the women are really wrapped up in meeting a guy who's more successful. And I feel like that's sad that they'd rather be alone. I think that one day they're going to look up when they're 50 and they're going to wish they weren't alone. They are going to wish they had a best friend. And it won't matter that he made $40,000 less. It won't, because maybe he cooked dinner with them. Maybe the money he did made allowed them to buy a house and go on great vacations together, so she wasn't on vacation alone. So I feel like people have just, I feel like a lot of women, honestly, they got their priorities out of whack. And I think a lot of social media did that for us and online dating. And I think that there's going to be a time where women are just single and saying they're happy. But I think a lot of these people that are single forever, I don't think they are going to be totally happy. I don't think they are going to be totally fulfilled, that they never found their partner that they can do life with, you know? So, I mean, that's where we are. I have to figure out how to talk to women because they're not willing to settle in any way, you know? About the money, that a lot of it is about finances. They want to marry a guy who is as successful as they are or more so that they respect him.
Which is one of the one of the differences between the sexes, like because a guy wouldn't care, right? Like
Hopefully,
the
guys,
guy,
oh,
yeah.
that's my kid.
Hey, kiddo, welcome to the podcast. Yeah, the guys don't care about that as much. In fact, like I always like to be honest with guests, and part of this is, I want you guys to be honest, and I want to be honest as well. Um, I would have a problem dating a woman that made a lot more money than I did. How can I say this? I have in the past, so it wasn't like, oh, that's a red line I'm not gonna ever cross. Um, and I don't know. There seems to be. It's not just the money; it's the personality that comes with the money,
Right.
right?
Yes, that's what
Uh,
makes it. Yeah.
right. So it's a lot of this. To me, sometimes it felt like a competition. To me, it felt like, oh, we're gonna have two leaders in the relationship. And, oh, that doesn't really work, you know. But I think I see the problem from both sides. I see why women wouldn't want it, and I see why guys wouldn't want it. But you can't put the genie back in the bottle. You can't say tell women that make 150K, oh, you got to quit your job to because the guy makes less. Like you can't do that.
Mhm.
So it's a really hard problem to solve, though, because again, like you said, women are not willing to settle for that, and the guys have a problem. So it's like both people have a problem with it almost.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I think it's changed the way women are, and I think that a lot of guys, okay, that's another thing they say, that they love to say that they don't care what the woman does for a living or whatever, but women fought hard to vote and go to college and work on their career, so they're not, that is today's woman. I mean, she's not that submissive girl, is not, that's not what society is creating anymore. So you might have to look at relationships being different. I mean, maybe you have to say to her, hey, I'd like to take the lead, and maybe you'll have to look at her as your best friend who motivates you, right? Instead of like challenging you, but motivates you, you know and not let it emasculate you. I mean, that's frustrating, but I'm very into health and wellness, and I work out every day. And my husband is not into that, but I feel like I've been a good influence on him in saying, look, it's not about you getting a six pack. You're 52. It's about you not dying. And I feel like they might need that influence in their life. This is not about like competing with him. I hope he gets stronger than me. It's about wanting him to live, right? And like I think that yeah, I think they could just look at how they I think a lot of men don't you hope to marry a woman who makes you a better person?
I hope that I can become a better person on my own, and then that will attract a woman that can be part of the things I have achieved. Um,
But
you
don't you
know,
want to keep growing and experiencing that with your mate?
oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So
No,
it doesn't have
growing
to be,
always,
yeah,
yeah.
it could just be an encouragement. Do you know what I'm saying? So
Oh yeah,
I feel like maybe guys could not look at her. I mean, it's the women have to approach the way they do it, and like when my husband works out, I'm like, I'm so proud of you. You look so strong. You're doing so good. I mean, right? Like it can be. It doesn't have to be this sort of like alpha male over the woman. I think it needs to be a little bit more collaborative,
yeah,
like a best friend, and that needs to be how you're looking at a marriage, because no marriages are like hot and heavy forever. You end up being married to your best friend that you encourage and support, and that you have a loving, meaningful, intimate relationship with. It's more complex than that. So I
yeah.
just feel a lot for women in terms of like guys saying like, I don't care what she does for a living, I don't like alpha women. And I think that a lot of alpha women have different sides to them. You know what I mean? And that could be an encouraging side who is like more like a friend. You know what I mean? I don't.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think that there are like you said, it's a very complex thing, right? And just because somebody is quote unquote alpha mentality,
Hmm.
even within that parameter, there's a lot of different personalities that have that
Yeah.
parameter. Some people can be what you're mentioning; they can be very much supportive and be go getters, and that's amazing. That's great. Um, I have seen not just with me, but with other people, a variety of different personality types that are alpha. Some of them, are supportive. Some of them not as supportive. So it depends.
Yeah.
It depends a lot on the individual. Because like one of the things that I always, I think when I met you in your office, I told you a little bit about myself that I write and I went to school for acting, all these things, and you start learning about personalities and human behavior quite a bit, in order to be able to create characters and so on. And what I find is that human beings are very diverse, and almost to a point it's so hard to pinpoint people, and I wonder like how that influences your job, because like there are so many parameters of personality. There's so forget these things that people want now, like such as height or money. There are so many parameters of like how are we going to be friends? Are we going to get along? Are we going to respect each other as human beings? That I would imagine like you have to look into before you like recommend this girl to Joe or to Harry or whoever. I wonder if you can talk a little bit about that. Like, what's the process like now? Um, in like, other than what people tell you, like, what other things do you look for, or do you look for anything else in how they behave?
I don't know if I look for how they behave. I mean, in that, like, I mean, I wouldn't put people that are two very, very quiet people together. But I just try to put people with similar background and similar interests together that have similar life goals. Um, and hope that it works. I mean, I'm not looking for this niche personality type unless the woman talks about it. Like, I I mean, I get what works for somebody like me, and I would probably repeat some of the things that are in my marriage, and that, like, I'm super type A and have anxiety, and my husband is like the strong but silent type and very calm. And I think you
Mm.
can't have two very anxious people together. I do think there needs to be like a calming force in it. So I think that that dynamic can work. And I'm often trying to get alpha women who think they need an alpha man to see that it might look a little bit different than what they'd envisioned. I mean, it can be a more reserved dude.
So, I was doing therapy until very recent, and one of the things I learned was that um, I was looking for women that had similar preferences than me, but not necessarily similar values. And until like I had this session with the therapist, I actually never put two and two together. I never actually realized the value part, like what we value really. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um,
What were the
and
preferences that were similar that you were looking for? And like, tell me what you mean exactly.
the parameters.
Yeah.
I don't have a. It's not like a physical type. It's more of a personality type.
Okay.
Because like if you look at the women I dated women from all kinds of backgrounds, races. Like I don't have like a physical
Cool.
type. I
Okay.
have more of a personality type, and it's more of like somebody who maybe is more into the arts. Maybe I don't believe in astrology, but like there was a lot of Arises in there. I don't know why. But more like of a free spirit kind of a thing. The values like experiences and connection. I think the biggest thing for me has always been connection. If I'm not connecting with the person, then it doesn't matter how
Yeah.
good looking they are.
Okay. Yeah, that's
You know.
great.
Um, no, there has to be physical attraction. I think the physical attraction is probably like you know the the entry ticket, right? I
Hmm.
think it's like that for everybody, right? Otherwise, we're just friends. But at the end of the day, it was more of like, can I talk? I've known to be talk to to people for like hours on the phone, just even friends, just because I like the connection. So this is why this job is perfect for me. But
Yeah. What
but
values did you need to connect on that you weren't connecting on?
I think values like loyalty, hard work, perseverance, those are things that to me are very dear, very very important. And before it was like those things were secondary, like not because they were not important then, just because I wasn't looking for them then. I was just assumed that like, oh, if I connect with this person, then those values must be there, as opposed to, oh, I can connect with people, but that does not mean that we have the same values, and that always caused the problem at the end.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you need to end up with somebody that you respect, that
Mm,
you trust to live life with. So, yeah, you can connect with a lot of people that you might not have that level of trust and respect with them.
yeah. So therapy works a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, I gotta say, so when we met, we talked a little bit about your book, and I loved how you describe it. I think you said something like, I wrote this little bitchy book over here," and I thought it was great because it's I have the table of contents here, and it's so honest and to the point that it's like that's like I like it. I mean, but you said that some people think the book is too direct, right? Is that
Yeah, yeah. I had a pretty well-known author tell me that I need to change it to "I know why you're single," because no woman would buy a book that says "and yes, it's your fault." And, I mean, I'm thinking about doing that, but the reality of it is, I do think it's their fault if they won't date guys that are shorter or make a certain income bracket. I mean, like, they're getting frustrated, but they're the ones that are standing in their own way. And most of the people that they know that are in relationships, they didn't have crazy rules like that, So they've made it a problem that doesn't need to be there. If you're only dating women that are a certain height, like you've made a problem that doesn't need to be there.
It really is stupid. I mean, but think about it this way too, right? I was thinking about that, right? So if there is such a thing as love, right? Let's assume that there is such a thing as love. Real love. Shouldn't you love the person with their flaws? Isn't that part of the package? Right? Isn't part of the thing is like, I love this person for who they are. It doesn't matter that they're a little shorter. It doesn't matter that they're a little,
Well, I think it's
maybe
that you at least accept it. Like your friends aren't perfect, your job isn't perfect. To like
no.
to expect somebody to be perfect is crazy.
Right. Yeah, it's delusional in a way because nobody is perfect. But to the point that you were making before, the issue is that like when you go to Instagram, right? When you go to Facebook, people are showing the perfect life. They're showing everything is perfect. Look all this money we're spending. Look at this lifestyle we have. We're the perfect little couple. And people think, people want what other people want, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest issue is like people look at that and be like, no, that's how my life should be. And why isn't it? And if it's not, then it's your fault, not my fault.
Yeah, maybe, but maybe get off social media. I think a lot of people are very
I
happy
agree.
posting their stuff. Just like a lot of people have nice things, but they're not like Gucci and like well-known labels. Not everybody is flaunting that stuff.
Right.
So
Now, social media has, for lack of a better word, as they say in French, fucked us over really good when it comes to relationships.
Yeah.
It's funny because I am very much against online dating, and I have a Facebook page, my own Facebook page, and now they have Facebook dating.
Yeah.
And every time I go on there, there's like a bunch of little hearts, and I'm like, what the heck is this, right? So apparently, the way Facebook works is that even though you didn't sign up for the thing,
they just let you know.
They let you know that some people sent hearts, and these are people that apparently are in your friends group. But it doesn't tell you. I know it doesn't tell you who it is. So somebody sent you the heart, and the only way that you find out who sent you the heart is if you heart them back without knowing. I know, right? It's super weird. But I just think it's like super insidious too, because like I didn't sign up for this thing, but they use your profile anyways, without your permission, technically speaking. But
yeah, wow.
Crazy, right?
I mean, yeah, it's a good strategy because you're curious. And at least they're not like, hey, this person doesn't like you. I don't know. It's sort of like getting flowers, I guess. You have to pay to see who got them. I don't know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did you ever have to tell a client that, like, oh, this person that you want to be matched with is just not?
Yeah, every day. And they're like, do you have anybody like that? And I'm like the person who didn't like you. Yeah, I mean, every day. But basically, I'll just tell them to stay out there and try again. I mean, life is part of rejection. You can't, like, roll around in that stuff. You know what I mean? So, yeah. It's just life.
It is.
But I do think that people need to ask themselves if they get rejected by 3 people they liked who didn't like them back, what is going on? Why don't those people like them back? And should they alter the profile of the kind of person they like? You know what I mean? Should they open up somewhere? I think that everybody needs to do that.
What do you think about what they call cold approaching nowadays? So if you see somebody outside, at a bar, dance club, where you're getting coffee.
Yeah, I mean, that's, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think no guts, no glory. But, like, you need to almost assume you're going to get blown off and be, like, pretty happy if you do, because not everybody's cool with that. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not done very often, so you
No,
know.
it's not. And you know what? That's a really good point. It's like you almost have to go, like the goal should be to talk to the person and be completely devoid of the outcome,
Totally, yeah. I
right?
think if you do it that way, yeah, like hitting, an all bases run in baseball or whatever, like you have to not expect it and be super excited if it happens, and not let it like destroy you forever if it doesn't. It's no big deal. That person was a stranger. You're probably never going to see him again.
Yeah. I don't know how, I always talk to I have some younger friends and sometimes we talk about of course we talk about dating. I think like me at 18 being extremely self-conscious, extremely afraid of talking to women, right? It was like when you're 18-year-old boy and you're trying to talk to a girl or even younger, like 16, you almost rather get into a fight than talk to a pretty girl that you like. It's that terrifying, you know? Um, and I see a lot of that now. And life beats that out of you, right? Because if you don't learn how to do it, then you're never going to have anybody else. I see that the younger generation is completely missing that lesson because it's so easy to, you know,
Yeah, I mean, you're not really living life unless you're taking the strikes and taking the hits. I mean, I congratulate myself every day if I, do things that are out of my comfort zone. I mean, I actually look to do them because that's what's making you grow. You're only getting more and more fearful the more you allow yourself to do things you're scared to do. I
yeah.
mean, you're just making everything a bigger deal than it needs to be.
Yeah, it's like the I forgot what it's called in psychology, but it's like that when you're afraid of something, if you're afraid of snakes or whatever, you look at a snake every day, and then eventually you touch the snake, and then eventually you know, um, I'm not proponing that people go out and touch snakes. By the way,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah,
dangerous
but
animals.
yeah.
But listen, so I want to talk to you about the book because I do love how you structure this though. So all right, I'm going to read just a little bit of the table of contents. Chapter 1: Your follow through sucks and you're not reliable.
Yeah.
Um, you text too much. You travel too much. You took a break from dating.
Mhm.
Can you talk about that specifically though? Like the follow through, your follow through sucks and you're not reliable. How does that affect the interaction with people? Because I thought that's very interesting.
Yeah, I just talked to a doctor today, and I mean, he's great. I mean, he's like 60, and he went out with a woman who's 49, and they had a nice time, and he liked her. And he was like, "So should I text her in a couple of days?" And I was like, "No, you're 60. You just need to call her. I mean, like, what's up with the game?" You know what I mean? I was like, "And she's 49. You should definitely just call her." And
Yeah.
also, like, she said, y'all talked last night about going out again. Like, what is going on? The like texting too much. I just don't understand why people have made it harder than it needs to be.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and then the follow through. It's like the girl is wondering. You said you liked me. You asked me to text you when I got home, which I did. And now I gotta wait around for 2 days to see if you're gonna ask me out again. Stop the games. What is going on? Just like ask the woman out that you had a good date with to go out again. Just I mean, like, y'all it just made it a big deal. The texting, the like back and forth that you mean this, like, this is crazy. Just ask her to go out on a specific day. Get a lockdown plan to hang out on a certain day before the second date, right? And then, yeah, and if you're being flaky about that by trying to play it cool because you're going on a trip and you want to wait, she thinks that your follow through. I mean, she thinks you're not reliable. She thinks it's weird, that you somehow put this on the back burner or texting. And honestly, I think most women, and maybe it's because I'm an alpha woman, I'm sure you can tell, but if a guy texts me, I think he's a wuss. Like, honestly, I'm like, well, because I'm 49 years old, I'm like, why don't you just call me? Are you scared to call me? What is happening? And I think a lot of women might think that way secretly. Because, like, especially if they're 45, I mean, their girlfriends call them a lot of
Yeah, our
times.
generation calls. But you know what's super funny about that?
Text is
So
very passive.
it is very passive. And here's the other thing too. You don't I can be very sarcastic not in a bad way, not in a mean way, but I like my sense of humor can be dry. And if you read the text sometimes, you don't know the tonality of how I'm saying the thing. Like you can really misinterpret some of the jokes. Um, and sometimes people have this negative bias, right? So like they're scanning for the worst possible interpretation of what I'm saying, or anybody's saying, and then it gets. But here's the other side of that token, though, which I think is interesting. If you're dating like a younger person, right? So I've dated women who are older than me. I dated women who are younger than me. Um, when you're dating somebody who's younger, like they almost want you to text. It's almost like this younger generation really has a problem with talking on the phone. They can't talk on the phone for very long or at all. And on text messages, like you can schedule things with them, and that's easier.
Yeah, can you
Um,
schedule a call?
huh?
Can you schedule a call? That's what I would. And I would say, look, I'm older than you. I mean, I'd like to just talk
Yeah.
to you on the phone because I think it's going to be more efficient for us to plan something fun rather than text you for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
So when are you around? Because I'm old and I want to call you on the phone because I feel like that's how we connect better. I mean, look, she knows she's dating an older dude. You know what I mean? Might like that he's courting her differently than the guys around her age do. That might be part of the appeal.
Yeah, that is true. Do you find that? Do you find that some women prefer older guy? Just
Yeah, I think most women do.
yeah. There's it's weird because of social media, because of all these things that we deal with now. It seems like you know, it's more difficult now to connect. And again, like I'm really big on the connection side. So it's really hard to connect with like younger people. Men and women, by the way, even guys that we meet, they're we're working with them. Sometimes it's hard to have a conversation because they're not connecting. I don't know what it is with these newer guys. I'm talking about like even like is like 31, I think is the cutoff. And like anybody younger than 31, they really have a hard time connecting. But but that's the thing. So like in chapter 2, you say you text too much. So like so talk a little bit about that because like what is the right amount of texting? Because it seems like it's hard to even tell, right? Because it depends on the person.
Yeah, I think texting's weird. I mean, I don't feel like you can form an emotional bond with somebody via text. I mean, it's going to be an immature bond. So I think you ought to text less and just make plans. I mean, it's originally text was meant to be a vehicle to say I'm running late. Where are you? Not have a conversation. If you're using text, then you are becoming more socially inept and able to make a true connection with somebody. You know, I mean, I worked with a girl that was like 30, and she tells me when people just call her, it freaks her out. But I mean, then I think you need to say, hey, let me know when you can talk, and you can arrange a conversation. But you're definitely developing, a superficial relationship if you're not, having conversations with people face to face or on the phone. That's not, that's a relationship you could do with like a chat box online with somebody you don't know or whatever. You fall into their DMs. That's not a real relationship.
She actually said that she gets nervous when somebody calls, anxious
Yeah,
when somebody calls.
he's about 30. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, both of my coworkers, and like, I mean, that's weird. You've like, I mean, to me, it's weird because you can't have a conversation. Like, I mean, what are you nervous about? I mean, I'm calling you because I'm driving home and I want to text you. I don't know. I'm used to having a conversation. I feel like it's impacting their social skills. So,
Yeah. So one of my clients does technology stuff, and we talked a lot about tech and the stuff that's coming out. And you know, we talk about AI quite a bit, and there was we've been talking about how pretty soon there's going to be services where AI can act as a girlfriend, kind of a thing. And lo and behold, the other day I'm on Instagram and I got an advertisement for the AI girlfriend.
oh wow.
Um, yeah, so that already exists. And the thing that's funny is that we were talking about how it doesn't have to be um it doesn't have to be just like a person. It would be just good enough to fool you, right? It's like McDonald's is not better than a real steak, but if
Hmm.
you're hungry and you're starving, it's good enough for now. And I think people getting, especially men, um, especially younger guys, they're getting lonely to a point that this AI soulless thing, right? That basically just text you in the morning and say, "Hey, honey, how are you? Miss you." Like this kind of shit, right? That's all the thing does for now is just texts you, like a Chat GTP does, but like it makes, the purpose of it is that it's your girlfriend, right? Um, I think that's gonna put us in a really bad place. I am not optimistic for the next 5 years when it comes to human relationships. How do you feel about that, knowing that this exists now?
I mean, yeah, I feel like it's gonna be. Yeah, I feel like relationships are taking a nosedive, and it might be weird for a decade, and then I think it's gonna come back around. You know what I mean? Because I just think that's where we are. I think we got lost with our social media.
Hmm. Are you familiar with a movement called the Passport Bros?
Oh, what is it? I love a new
Okay,
movement.
so the Passport Bros is a movement where guys are leaving the West to find love in other countries, and so they'll go to, like, Eastern Europe or Asia. Sometimes they go to South America, and they go there because they think that the claim is like the well is poison here. You go to these other countries and you
Yeah,
can find a more traditional relationship. Usually there's like a financial differential, right? Because the power of the dollar, they get there, they automatically have more purchasing power. A lot of guys retire in these countries. So I see that a lot, and me being from another country. So I have the benefit of having two cultures, right? The
hmm
I grew up mostly here, but I also grew up, my early infant days were in Brazil, and there is a difference in culture. There is a difference in how, it's not all positive, right? Like no culture is 100% positive, but there's a difference, So I wonder how so you didn't even know this existed. This is the first time you're hearing about this.
Well, I mean, I knew that men were going to other countries and interested in women from other cultures and stuff like that. Yeah, I knew that was happening. Yeah.
Do you, in your practice, do you find guys who's saying like, "Oh, if this doesn't work out, I'm gonna head over to Vietnam or Taiwan or one of these places"?
No, not so much, but they might be really interested in people from other cultures. And I even understand that because I feel like Americans are obsessed with money. And if it's a culture that values family more than money, then I think that could be a good idea. until until we get our priorities straight, you know? Unfortunately so. I understand that.
It's weird too because when it comes to culture, is because you said I think you didn't tell me this, but I watched one of your videos. You said that most of your clients are not African American, right? That you don't have a lot of African American males. You have
Yeah.
more white males who are clients.
Right.
Um, and I wonder if that's like a cultural thing also, right? Where African American guys are like, "Oh, I can just go out, get whoever, doesn't matter."
Yeah.
Um, so how often does culture become like a thing that you look at
Oh, I
when
mean,
you're
I definitely would look at culture like that's a big part of matching.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, like African American women are usually open to another ethnicity now, and I think that African American men are coming around that like online dating and dating is so prevalent. Go with that. Um, that they've got to.
I like
uh,
the headphones.
yeah, nice. Anyway, online dating is so prevalent, and other ways of dating are so prevalent. They've got to look at other ways. You know what I mean? So that's growing, but we haven't totally gotten there.
So I lived in California for 10 years almost. And I also lived in Rhode Island. And now I'm here in Atlanta. And I would say that dating in Atlanta is pretty easy.
Oh yeah,
Um, I wouldn't say it's easy to find like the right person, but
yeah,
it's easy to find a person.
yeah,
Uh, LA probably was a bit different. Rhode Island was probably the worst place to date. you
yeah.
know, um, and I think it goes back to that culture thing that you're saying. In a way, like for better or for worse, people seem to be at least a little bit more welcoming here than up north. Um, I would say in California, very welcoming, but I guess it depends. Where you are. I was in the
They're more
circle of
open-minded
actors,
about
so
race in California, though, right?
say again.
They're more open-minded about race in California.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't think that's
Yeah.
an issue. Up north, I'll say that too. Although I say California is absolutely not an issue. Do you find that here is an issue? I mean, it seems to be to certain degrees, which is weird to me.
Yeah, it's so weird. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's another frustrating thing about being a matchmaker in the South. I mean, I'm a Southern girl, but like, yeah, the South is racist, you know. So, and it's not just white Southern women. I mean, almost every Indian girl that I have ever had will only date white men or sometimes Indian men. They would never date an African American man. So this is not just a Southern thing, but I don't know. And there's people that will just only date white. A lot, I write about these girls in the book. I mean, they would never consider another ethnicity, and I'm like, what? You've been single for a decade. You never consider another ethnicity? You sound like not an like you're not an open-minded person, and you definitely can't roll with the punches. Like you can't like make adjustments. So yeah, that's another super sad thing that race. Did I write a chapter on race? I don't even remember. Is it in the book?
I have, my printer kind of failed. I have chapters 1 through 17.
But it's just along one of those things like height. It's crazy to me that somebody, wouldn't consider another culture or race. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Not adventurous eaters either. They're definitely not trying new stuff.
yeah, that is difficult though. I don't know. I wonder how much of that is what we talked about before. Whether if that's like a social thing. So it's more of like, well, what people are gonna think of me if I date this person for this race, and how much of it's like a biological thing. Like a truly preference thing, right? Um, like we said, I told you before, like I don't have a preference necessarily for physical, but I also know that like I find, and I'm gonna get in trouble now. I find blonde women more attractive.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, of all
Yeah.
things being equal, right? Like I have like there is a biological thing that draws me to that. And it's not to
Yeah.
say that women who are brunette or other races, whatever, not attractive. They are to me, but there's something about a blonde hair girl that I find immediately attractive. Like I'll notice immediately, right? And it's not
Hmm.
conscious. It's not like, oh, I'm looking for that. It just clicks on.
Yeah.
So I wonder how much of that is biological and how much of that is societal, right? With the case that you were mentioning, where some of these people here are just like, oh, I don't want to date somebody else who's like at all, like because it seems like almost it is societal because I can see people from all kinds of races being attractive. Right? There's a type of whatever that you're gonna find attractive, even though you may have a preference. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Not at
but I
all.
mean, I would bet that you would find a smoking hot Hispanic girl attractive
Oh,
sometimes,
absolutely.
even if
Yeah.
she's not blonde.
Oh, of course not. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, it might be a preference, but you would still try it, you know? Yeah.
Oh,
I think it's
100%.
awesome.
And I have. Yeah,
You could probably
100%.
get her to dye her hair blonde or get blonde hair
Well,
all, you know? Pretty
again,
much.
it's not even that much of a thing that I would like. I like you the way you are. You don't need to change it. Like if I like the person, you know.
Mhm.
Um, but I know that there is like I have a thing for you know, again, it's not having a type, but there is a preference, I would
Yeah.
say. Again, going back to the technology side of things. So I have my friend is an engineer. This guy's an engineer that I talk to all the time. And there are a lot of people. So not only there are a lot of people throwing money on the dating side. So like match.com, whatever the apps are called. I don't know what the apps are called, um but there's also a lot of money going into robotics, which is very weird, right?
Uh,
Um,
they're gonna make them sex bots with
they're
the.
making sex bots and they're making them to the point now, which is so interesting, right? Because again, it's like when people are so starved of something, like even a product that's nowhere near as good is good enough for somebody who's dying of hunger, right? So there's a company, they started these Android things. You know, it's like a woman, looks like a woman, right?
Mhm.
But it's a robot. It costs $170,000. And the way that they're marketing is that this could be the person that answers your phone. It could be like somebody that, you know, let's say you buy this thing to work for you at your office, or it can be a companion,
Okay.
which we
Yeah.
all know what that means.
Right.
Um, and and again, it just goes back to that thing. It's like, man, are we getting to that point that we're becoming so disconnected with each other to the point that's like you're better off buying this thing that isn't real at all, you know, in 10 years from now, because the technology is still pretty rudimentary at this point, but it's going fast. It's growing very fast, and there are, you know, big companies throwing real money into these things. It's not just like you know, a fringe company that's doing whatever. It's like it's Wall Street money going behind it, you know, going towards this thing. So um, I don't know. I don't know how we go from here, you know, but so maybe in the future your job would be either easier or harder.
What if we sold some of them?
That's what I was gonna say. Maybe you could just sell these things
Yeah.
and you'd be all set.
Look, you made up this woman, but we could literally make her up for you. I don't know. Yeah, that'd be crazy. That'd be really cool if matchmaking did that.
Yeah,
Better to
exactly.
have them happy than bitter.
So yeah, I don't know. Like what do you think are the biggest misconceptions that people have when they hire a matchmaker? Like
I think that yeah, they just think they're like the average girl that hires me, who I probably make fun of a lot. She's 20 pounds overweight. She's in her 30s. She's trying to land a super successful guy who's white because she's white, and she's ready to settle down, and they're blaming it on, you know, the men not wanting to be able to settle down, and it's really like, no, he thinks you're a bitch and a little bit fat. I don't really know. I don't know where.
I like
So
how you mince your words. It's very
yeah, I mean, like I think that like a lot of people have convinced themselves there's something wrong with somebody else
yeah.
instead of looking at what's wrong with them. You
Yeah.
know, like the guy in the suburbs with the two teenage kids who wants to date a much younger woman. Much younger women are not looking to date dudes that live like way deep in the suburbs. They're just not looking for that. He made it up. He has to date a woman closer to his age. So I think they have this theory that, you know, they're like, oh, well, the much younger women that date me, they're only after me for money. And I'm like, yes, of course. What do you have to offer them other than that? I mean, you don't want a kid with them. You live in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it's like they thought this person that was out there, and they never did any self-reflecting. And I'm trying not to be, you know, too hard on them, because I think I was a girl like that too. I was like a little bit overweight. I had short butchy hair, and I was kind of demanding, and
Hard to imagine now, but
yeah, and I thanks, I'm working on it. My husband hated that hair, but you know, yeah, and but the difference is I was not as demanding. Like if somebody would have told me to open up, I would have. And I feel like they just need to open up. You know, they need to open up on ethnicity and income and all that stuff. Every single person that comes to me that is open on ethnicity and a little bit open on age, maybe 12 years. If they're open 12 years and they're open on ethnicity, they always find it. So every single one of them, marriage after marriage, they always find it if they're open. And the people that are really, really rigid, the more rigid they get, they never find it. So I think you just really need to ask yourself, are you more interested in finding your little widget or more interested in having it work? And if you're more interested in having it work, then open up. It's just maybe going to look different than what you want, but make you as happy. So I think that's the thing. They got to look at, the matchmaker's not there to find you your perfect little widget. The matchmaker is there to solve the riddle about why you're single and make sure you're happy. And if you can't get your mind around that, it's like you didn't go to the stylist to tell them what you should wear, or the what is it called, athletic person, trainer, to tell them how to work out. Like, you don't come to me and tell me all these demands you have. You've been trying it your way on your own. Like, let me figure it out. So I think what they get wrong, they come in too rigid, and it's like I'm like taking an order for them, and it's not, they don't know what they're doing half the time.
I mean, you seem like a person that can't take, though, the hard, well, I wouldn't even say hard, but like the whatever the reality is, right? Like, it seems like you're the person that's like, hey, listen, this is how it is, and you have to open your eyes to that.
Yeah.
But again, we are from that generation that maybe got bullied a little bit more, and we had to like fight our own fights, and we had to, this new generation, like, I can see how just the fact of saying that to some clients would get them to be pissed off and write like a bad review or.
Yeah, but but then I'll just have to give them what they want and then tell them why that person didn't like them. They have to learn the hard way. Sometimes they have to learn the hard way, and they pay a lot of money to get that reality check. And either they get it and they make adjustments, or they don't get it and they blame it on somebody else. And usually it's me or whoever, the world or whatever. But life is not perfect. You gotta be able to make adjustments and keep it moving.
Well, instead of taking a radical self-responsibility, right? Like, you can't change other people, but you can certainly change yourself if you want to.
Right.
So, yeah. Yeah, it's not easy. I find, like I said, I find that it's easy to find like a person. It's very hard to find a relationship. And maybe it's just, so last year I was dating for a while. And then for the last 6 months, I said, you know what, enough. I'm going to just press the reset button, be alone for a little bit, which has been great. Because like you're saying, like take self-responsibility. I think a lot of the problems with me, I'm going to put myself here in the fire a little bit, but a lot of the problems with me is like I was selecting the wrong people, right? And I think that in life, just like a movie, it's all in the casting. Once you have your cast set and they're good, then you're good. And I think a lot of the times it was like I had this thing where I'll find a person, again, maybe for the wrong reasons, maybe more because of the physical or the connection, the chemistry, whatever that means, right? There's that spark. And thinking, oh, no, but this person likes me so much that she would change. The things I don't like would change. And that never happens, right? It never happens. Nobody's going to change for you. You can change if you want, but like nobody's going to change for you. And that was like one of the lessons, I think, is like, it's more about values, less about chemistry is good. It's important, but it's not, I would say maybe 60% chemistry. And the rest has to be values, because otherwise you're just going to be butting heads, and it'll be great for a few months, and then it crashes. So I found myself in the cycle, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah, I was looking for this thing. It was like 4 pillars of a relationship. I'll find it, and if you like do notes about it. But one of them was like, are your values this similar? And I think if you could just have a real conversation with somebody you're attracted to, like, tell me what you're looking for. Because I do think there's women out there that might tell you, and it might be something that you do not want.
No,
right?
that's a really good point. So this is a really good point that you just make. So
Yeah.
let's say, you know, for me, I would be horrified of having that conversation. And here's why. And I really want to get your opinion on this because that's really good. Um, my fear would be like if we sit down to have that conversation, the chemistry dies and it becomes more of like a job interview, right? So my fear was always like, let's work this out as we go versus let's stop and actually have the conversation now. Tell me why my approach was wrong.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think with anybody, you've got to take out like, oh my gosh, I'm drilling this girl to want to be in a relationship, instead of like, it's more about like, tell me what you think's important in life, and if you have similar goals. I mean, you want to hang out with people in general that you sort of have the same values. Like if you enjoy intellectual growth and communication, and they don't, and they like want to work all the time or whatever, I mean, are you going to want to hang out with them? Right. So, I mean, I tell women a lot this when they're like, I'm so scared to have the conversation about where this is going. I'm like, it's not personal. It's not like you can't, it's not like you're saying, oh my God, I want to marry you and I can't be without you if you don't marry me. It's like, hey, I'm going to get married and have a family one day, and you're either on this train or you're not. Not personal, but we're going to get off at a different stop if you're going in a different direction. And I think it's about that. I mean, you got to remove the fact from her about like you're drilling her to be your girlfriend. You're just asking her about what she thinks is important in life, how she sees her life going, and you're trying to see if you fit into that equation or not. So I think it's sadder to not ask, because then you're assuming you can make this girl work who maybe doesn't work at all. You're trying to make something work that is not going to work. It's sadder to not ask. You know what I mean? Because you
Yeah.
don't know the girl who you think is like, I mean, I don't know you that well, but doesn't value self growth, doesn't value communication, doesn't value the creative side of life. Like, what if she doesn't value those things? What if she values like money and handbags and yachts? That's not your girl. What do you like? You're not even
Not
gonna like,
yet.
yeah, but like, I mean, you don't even want to have a one night stand with that girl. Like,
No, and oh, by the way, I'll say this one thing. I'm glad you touched on that point. I was never the one night stand guy. I
oh,
think that's you know, I'm not saying this is because I'm talking to you now. I was against it.
yeah, all
I've
right,
done it. It
right.
wasn't intentional. It's like I thought a relationship was going to grow from that, and it didn't.
Oh,
But I was never the guy that was like, "Oh, I'm just going to sleep with her tonight and then be done with it," because I think in a way that says more about. Well, it says about both people, right? It's very sociopathic to do that, right? Because you're literally using the person for a thing and then discarding the person.
hmm,
Um, and I was always against that.
yeah,
Um, you know what I mean? Because that was never like an attractive thing to me. If I'm gonna do that, I want to start something.
okay,
Maybe I don't know where it's going, and I'm guilty
yeah,
of that. But it was never like, oh, it's gonna end here tonight.
okay.
Um, so do you ever encounter people that want to hire you, but then after talking to him a little bit, you're like, oh, this guy just wants, or it could be a girl too, just wants to hook up tonight, like hook up with as many people and then get out. Do you encounter that kind of people?
Um, no, I wish that girl called me. No, no. I mean, enough like, sometimes if the men are asking me like, can I date multiple people? I'll just say, hey, look, if you're sleeping with a girl, I will know about it, and she's going to be asking me if you're going on other dates. So it's kind of like meeting somebody through a friend. So I just need to tell you that that is where we're at. I mean, you know what I mean? Like I have to let them know that it's no different than meeting somebody through a friend. So it's the same kind of expectations there.
So I have an argument. I'm going to propose an idea here. I would say that if we take away when we talk about arranged marriages, right? And if we
Hmm.
take away like the age gaps,
Yeah,
and if
I
we
love
take a,
marriage.
huh?
I kind of like an arranged marriage. I mean, we
Well,
just
do you
really
know that
want.
they have the lowest divorce rate of anybody else?
Well, I mean, they're probably scared to divorce for their families, but yes, I do, and I think we've gone like too far out the other side. Where people think they don't either they don't want to get married at all, or they think that marriage is not a commitment, and they can get out too easy.
Right. I agree
Yeah,
that it should be harder to get out, for sure,
yeah. Maybe
or
family pressures.
impossible.
Yeah,
Um, but I guess what I was gonna say is that in a way, what you do, I would argue that is a form of arranged marriage, right? Um, not on the same like you're not people are not being forced, people are not being coerced, none of that stuff. But the fact that there's a third party, right, looking, because maybe Andre is not the best guy to find out what kind of woman is really good for him. But like you
mm,
as an independent person can look at my personality and look at Susie Q's personality and be like, hey, you know what, these two would be great for each other. But they will never meet in real life and they will never connect unless there's an introduction. But
yeah.
because you're making the introduction, so in a way you could call that arranged. What is your take on that?
I mean, I'm having a hard enough time to get them on second dates and not text so much. Just marry. So no, I don't feel like we're even close to that. I mean, I do feel like um I try to open up some doors that maybe they wouldn't see. Like I have that perfect woman that you're looking for, but she's 5'7", not 5'9". Do you want to meet her? I mean, and like the smart ones will tell me yes, right? The ones that really want to end up in a relationship. So I don't know. I don't feel like it's at all like an arranged marriage. I feel like people are shopping like they do on Amazon and they still think there's this perfect person out there that they can find who will like them too. You know?
Yeah.
I'm Yeah. That's sad.
It is sad. I think there's a lot of hurt out there that it's unnecessary because of the way things are. But
Yeah.
and not to be nostalgic about it, but I think back in the 90s at least, you would know. Um so for your services, the majority of people, the ultimate goal is marriage.
I was thinking people get married all the time. I mean, I'm going to a wedding this Saturday night. I mean, we hear about 2 or 3 marriages a month. So it's not that they don't find it, but I don't feel like it's arranged. Like they usually have tried a few different things. You know what I mean? Like they did for a while. It wasn't like an impulse decision. It wasn't like I don't know. Sorry. What was your question?
No, I guess what I was saying is that when people look for a matchmaker, is the ultimate goal marriage, or is the ultimate goal I just want to find somebody for now? Um,
Yeah, we have different. I mean, we have clients that are 25 years old and have never had a girlfriend or boyfriend, or even 35 years old, never had a girlfriend or boyfriend. And we have clients that are 74 that have been married 4 times. So they all have different goals. I would say, for the most part, the clients that are hiring me in their 60s, they don't want to get married. They've acquired wealth and it's just too hard. They're not trying to like mix their retirement for their kids or anything like that. They're probably avoiding marriage. And then I would say for people that have been married before, yeah, this is not a goal for them. They're just looking for a partner. It's only for the people that are looking to settle down and have a family or just settle down that they're looking for marriage. And I would say that's usually, late 20s to right about 44. Those people are looking to get married. Every age outside of that, yeah, it's not usually a goal. It's not something they talk about. And if it is something they talk about, it's like 20% of them are there to get married. And then and then it's easy because that 55-year-old man who's looking to get married, I'm looking to match him with a woman who talked also a lot about marriage and they have similar goals. It's a smaller pool. They're usually just out of
yeah,
a
the pool
divorce.
gets smaller, it seems.
Yeah, they have enough on their plate with raising their kids and their career to think about getting married again. you know
Well, we talked about that depressing hypothesis that I have is that the pool gets shallower, and less good options as you age. And
yeah.
It's because of the people in it, and I'm included in that pool. So um,
I think it gets easier for guys. Although there is a point where you guys hit about 50 and you've never been married, and the girl's like, "What is wrong with him?" You
mhm.
know what I mean? Like you think you're George Clooney, but you are not George Clooney. You're a regular dude who's never been married, and we're wondering if you have commitment issues. So even though you still may be attractive, we're worried there's something wrong. So I guess there's a timeline on that. You know?
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. Actually, I don't know where I saw that, but I think that we were in this interaction, and then the girl asked how old the guy was, and he's like, 50 something, and he was never married, and she immediately lost all interest in him. So I can see that. So the wall comes for everybody, as they say, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a girl in her 20s might date him and have her take him to a nice restaurant, but she's not gonna probably end up with him.
If there were three things other than hiring you that people should do to find a romantic partner, what would they be?
Well, I think if they're online dating, they need to open up their preferences. And I say this in the book, if you just do two things in the book that I suggest, open up on ethnicity, open up on height, open up on location, you'll find them. You're standing in your own way. Um, so, I mean, usually the people I talk to are online dating. And then I think the other thing is to do something that genuinely makes them happy, and that could be pickleball, it could be pottery, it could be a book club, and then just talk to people. Like you need to take out that part of it where it's like hitting on them, because that's weird. I mean, people can sniff that out if you have an agenda, and just look to make connections and have a good social interaction. And I think if you're doing something you like anyway and you're meeting other people you like, then that could develop into something. So I think if you're online dating, and you should be, you should take breaks from it, but like definitely go back to it unless you're like you super super outgoing. And then doing something they love. If they're opening up on online dating and doing something they love, I do think they'll find it. If they give themselves about 6 months.
I had a lot of luck in salsa classes, dancing
Really?
classes.
Yeah.
No, dancing classes are great because I honestly like dancing,
Yeah.
and you get to meet a lot of people, and there's no pretext of we're not here to date, we're here to learn a thing.
Yeah.
So I think, and I made a lot of friends doing that. A lot of
Yeah.
my friends came from doing that. I think also martial arts would be a good thing for people to do if they like that.
Yeah.
Um, I often think about this is like where would the people that are not into the club scene go, right? Like, what would they be doing? Are they
Yeah.
taking like hiking trips? Are they like what is the activity? So I like dancing, but I think
I
anything
think
like that would be good.
great. And so is martial arts. I mean, because I mean, if you are attracted to somebody, you're definitely getting close to them enough to like potentially feel that. I mean, I would think if you asked out a girl that you met in salsa, she wouldn't be like, "Oh my god, horrified. How could you even consider that I would be single?" I mean, 'cause yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
like a little bit more natural if you're
right.
naturally close to them. Yeah.
Um, I will tell you a horror story that happened with a friend of mine. I wonder what your take is on this because so I had a friend who met this girl online at the beginning, like I would say probably like 15 years ago. It was the beginning of Match.com and all this stuff. This girl was from Australia. He is from Rhode Island,
Hmm.
and they were talking online for a little while. Everything is going great, and then the girl decides to come to the U.S. So she goes to L.A. He flies across the country to meet her.
Hmm.
They meet for about 5 minutes, and they have zero chemistry in real life.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've done that with online dating. Yeah. I know. Did she talk to her over the phone or do a video call with her?
I think it was something like this, but going back 15 years ago, it's probably way worse quality, right? So, um, but I want to get your take on that too, because like sometimes people look perfect on paper, and even they can have conversations,
Hmm.
but then when you're in their presence in the room with them, whatever the pheromones are, you know what I mean? Like to be next to the actual person. Because
Yeah.
cameras lie in a way.
Right.
Um, it's not the same thing.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so that's another reason why you need to meet people. I mean, I've definitely, like back in the day, developed bonds with people, and then I would meet them out, and there would be nothing there. Either probably on their end or my end. You don't really know if there's going to be chemistry until you meet somebody live. You
Yeah.
know, so I think you need to work on meeting people live. You know, you can't just live behind the computer because you definitely shouldn't get that pumped about meeting somebody until you actually do.
Jennifer, if anybody wants to hire you, what's the best way to get in contact?
Yeah, everybody listening to you. They're all over the country, right?
One would hope all over the world.
Well, been a matchmaker.
My mother in Brazil listens to me.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, but I know matchmakers all over the country. Guys could just call me and call the office. I'm 404-355-7828. Yeah, I'm old, so I just like to call. You could also fill out a profile. We do 8 Dinner Club, which is group dinner parties and social events. It's just Google 8 Dinner Club. It'll take you to the website. And the same thing with one-on-one matchmaking. If you're interested in hiring a matchmaker, then you would just fill out a profile there, and I would just have it call you and have a consultation with you, and I can definitely tell you whether I have good matches for you. And every day I talk to people that we don't take, just because I don't have the right matches for them, and I can usually give them pretty good advice if we're not the fit for them. So yeah, just call the office, 8 Dinner Club, or one-on-one matchmaking, or fill out a profile there.
And your book is?
Oh yeah, thanks for asking. Yeah, it's called I Know Why You're Single, and yes, it's your fault. And I think if you actually read this book, you'll see that I'm really not bitchy, but I do know that there's something you're doing that is standing in the way of you finding something wonderful and being way more happy and not getting bitter. And it's something you can fix. And the world doesn't have to fix it. And that's what this book's about, because I do think you'll be happier. Even if, in your words, you settle a little bit, I think you'll be happier. Your friends aren't perfect. Your job isn't perfect. Your body isn't perfect. And you shouldn't need a perfect mate to be happy. So, yeah. They can buy the book on Amazon.
Yeah, no, I'll put the link in the description for the show below so people can go get it. And I haven't read the book, but I did look through it. And what it seems to me, which I thought was, I like the title. I don't think you should change the title. I think you should keep it.
Thanks. Yeah, people that know me, they're like, so you.
Yeah, no, I like it. I like the tough love, but it seems to be a lot of practical things. You know what I mean? And I think people need that too. So.
Yeah, there's so many books about do you love yourself enough? Give yourself grace. And you read the book and you're like, what was that bullshit? I mean, I think I just got some self-love BS and I didn't actually know anything practical to do. So that's why all these pages are literally 2 pages. And it's like, hey, you don't need to date people inside the perimeter. That's what you need to stop doing. And I truly believe if you change 2 things, you'll find your person.
Well, Jennifer, I think you are right. And I think everybody should go hire you and buy the book.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. And thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Pretty much anyone can make, not anyone, but if you have the knowledge and skill set, anyone can make a really solid feature. Whether it gets seen, I think is the part too that's just tough. There's just so much, I don't want to say noise, but competition is the best way I can phrase it. And that's where, for me as a filmmaker that's still independent, it feels very overwhelming. I'm like, okay, because I know independent directors particularly that have made more than one feature at this point, and their careers aren't made, that's not what they do for a whole time.